Well, Chris, I think the women in the main event delivered again. It's possible the announcers overstated enough where there might be some pushback, calling it a classic and Wade Barrett calling it a banger. But I think it was pretty close. I mean, Tiffany and Nia Jax are on, similar paths, but also kind of separate paths to prove themselves. Nia Jax has had the reputation and she's played into it for heat. And, she likes playing in her mind, kind of playing with the marks by going, I like to hurt people for real. Instead of kind of apologizing or running from it. But she did have that reputation. And she came across as somebody who might be there for reasons other than merit. And I think she's lost weight. She's having long matches. She's hitting her spots. That spot that they did at the top rope where Tiffany's going for a power bomb and it got turned midair into was it no, there are two really good spots. The Annihilator was later, but the turning that into a slam. I mean, the ability to just tuck midair like that is just, I'm in awe of that. Their ability to just do that midair and the fact that they're willing to try and they just pulled it off. So Jax has, I think, proven herself. And I don't know if silencing critics is a word, but I mean, building up a track record in the ring, delivering in the ring good matches, but also as an effective heel character. I mean, she really is, like, people who don't like her sometimes I think they lose sight of the fact that they're not supposed to. It's okay to be, like, you can't hold it again. I don't know. So it's a good, I sometimes think it's good heat. And then Tiffany is on this other track of this rookie who looks like she's getting pushed for a certain traditional Divas era reason. She fits that part and that look. And I don't, her promos are not my favorite. I think she could use vocal coaching because it's, I mean, she's a public figure. I'd say this about men or women, or I don't find it pleasant. I don't find Montez Ford's, over the top energy, all that. I think it's a little too much and cartoonish. So, but my God, in the ring, she is tough. She's earning a reputation as a badass, not just some Barbie doll. So I don't know. I wasn't necessarily going to lead with this match in my commentary. There's other things to talk about and other developments, but recency bias and match quality has me talking about it. I'm over to you. What do you agree or disagree with?
Totally agree. So I was trying something different with my own hits and misses tonight, and I was sort of live writing, live typing, not just notes, but trying to just get my on the fly reaction.
Yeah.
And I'm tempted to include the paragraph on this match unedited, because what it is it starts with this, I don't know about this main event tonight. I'm not really feeling it. And then you can see halfway through my paragraph, like, holy shit, this is going places tonight, right? And in that moment where Tiffany was going for the power bomb, and they did something similar with Lyra back in, I think it was the Queen of the Ring tournament or something like that. But when she landed, I really thought she could leave with the belt tonight. And so for them to be able to create suspense in a match that perhaps should have been a foregone conclusion was awesome. And your points about Nia Jax, right on. I mean, she's moving infinitely better than I ever have in my life. It was, it was something to write home about. Instant classic. I don't think that, but way better than I expected it to be.
Yeah, I get the announcer's job.
Yeah,
is to frame it and then give it a little boost. Attendance of 11,700 is going to become over 12,000 plus. I'll pick on Tessitore for the redundancy there. It's either over 12,000 or 12,000 plus, but it can't be over 12,000 plus. 12,000 plus by definition is over 12,000. I don't know what over.
It's over 12,000 plus.
Yeah, but that the editor in me, it's like, wait, that's a needless word or redundant. So that's just kind of the way it works, and I don't think it was like egregious, but I would just be careful. Let the fans appreciate it without starting to think, hey, don't push it on me. Let me like the match without telling me I should love it. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is like this was close enough where I'm not like outraged by it. It's just sort of a little yellow warning flag. Don't overdo that. And Michael Cole had been doing that for a while too. There's kind of, but I think, it's possible on headset backstage, Paul Levesque and everybody's like, oh my God, this is great. And they're telling Tessitore tout the match. I'm not putting it on him either. I mean, it might be his call. It might not be. Certainly if management disagrees, they'll tell him to scale back either way. So I'm not casting blame other than the end result, I think, could turn people off a little bit if they feel they're being pushy about it. But, I mean, Jax is in good shape. I'll read a couple quotes from the chat because people are agreeing with this. Sadler Vision 3 said that main event was way better than expected. Solid show overall considering the missing star power. Dwayne Carpenter says Nia Jax is light years ahead of where she was in her first run. Boo her because she's a heel, but recognize how much she has improved. JC Scooby 1976 says main event was good, makes you want more. Sadler Vision 3 adds Nia deserves a ton of credit, but she's similar to Logan Paul, and that no matter what she does to improve, the majority of fans will never give her credit. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, it's nice to see. You know, I mean, you want your main event matches to be good. It's still not lost on me what a big deal it is, what a big deal it is that it's not a big deal that women are headlining a nationally televised pro wrestling show. There was a time when the women main evented Raw, and it was like, whoa,
yeah,
the women main evented Raw. The division that was called Divas with demeaning, chauvinistic treatment to Jerry Lawler and puppies, and these demeaning contests and these diva contests that got Kevin Dunn and Vince McMahon to, you know, whatever they were doing watching that. Right. It's gross looking back. And we have come so far now that like the women are just integrated. And I don't want to point it out all the time. It's nice that we can watch that and it's not news. But I want to point out, like, that's good. Like, we're at a point where that felt like a legit main event, and it earned it in the 15, 20 minutes, counting everything that it got.
Yeah. I was thinking about that during the match, in particular, thinking about the different presentations of the women, right? I mean, obviously, Tiffany plays into her sexuality in a way that's different than Nia Jax does. But it's not exploitative in the way that it felt like it was 2 decades ago, right? Yep. And I think you just can't get away from the fact that we are a sexual culture, and athletics is inherently sexual because of the way we talk about and value bodies. But again, it's not exploitative, and it's meant as a feature of the character rather than being the sort of soul aspect, the reductive aspect of it. So to see them fighting, you know, and having real stakes and real story, I celebrate it with you. It's awesome.
Are you with me that Tiffany could use some work on the mic work?
100%. So
yeah,
I feel like she's, and I was in her character a little bit too, is feeling too one note for me. And I think the work on the microphone could also come with a different level of depth about who she is, what are her motivations now, right? Other than just continuing to have Tiffy time. So yeah, she needs a little work that way. I don't think it would take much, you know, obviously not.
And honestly, I mean, I don't, you know, it's not, I hope people don't see it as an insult to say, I think she could use some vocal coaching. I mean, people get coaching in the ring on how to do moves. She's a public figure. She's talking into a microphone. That is a skill. People who do radio and podcasting often are, you know, either mentored or get training formally on how to articulate and speak and all that stuff and come across as professional. And I think she has it in her, but I think she needs some work. It just, if you're going to be a babyface and you're going to retort Nia Jax, you don't want people just going, you know, wanting to plug their ears, and that there's just sort of an immaturity to her vocal delivery that I think is easily tweaked. And I think she is showing she's worth the effort to kind of refine that and have her promos match a babyface character you're rooting for. And it's tough because the transition going from this heel superficial Barbie doll to a babyface heroically showing she's a badass against ultimate female villain Nia Jax. We're in an awkward transition phase, but Mark Biscetti in the chat before 38 just says she's gotten so good in the ring this fast. I don't doubt she'll put in the work on the mic and acting work. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So I've had to be analyzed by a speech pathologist, and it isn't fun, but it also made me better at my job. So again, not a knock there. The match itself, I kept thinking it felt like a true David versus Goliath moment, right? Where you had this monster in the ring. And for some reason, Nia felt particularly monstrous tonight. And I think it was because of the way they had Tiffany almost bouncing off of her body at a couple of the beginning offensive segments that I thought was really effective in establishing that feel that this is a tough fight, you know. So those are just a couple more of my thoughts about it.
Yeah, I'll throw a couple of the comments up, then we'll introduce ourselves, and then we'll move on to some other topics from the show. Mark Biscetti said Stratton Jax belonged to the main event. Best story told, best match wrestled. Let's see. Up next, Derek Hubbard says, big win for Tiffany. This is a match she needed at the onset of her title reign to build some credibility after her Money in the Bank cash-in. Better late than never. And Brock Bedingfield said, I think Tiffany's character is naturally heel. I feel a little tweak with smart comedy could make a better face. Might be wrong, though. What do you think they can do to get her character in the babyface realm?
Smart comedy would be an interesting way to go. I don't know if that's the kind of tongue-in-cheek, kind of biting kind of element that could happen, the almost clueless stuff, which I think she did some during NXT. I mean, I don't think we need her up there bearing her soul about her past traumas like Charlotte, right? That's not the way to go. And I don't know if smart comedy would be the way that I would do it. I think one way would honestly be expanding her vocabulary, would be allowing her to speak in a different kind of cadence, right? With a more natural rhythm, which would communicate more authenticity. I think even that alone would go somewhere.
The thing that worries me is you don't want to go, here's what I want her to be. Find out who she is and how to refine that. Don't put something upon her that won't feel authentic. Because I think, I mean, authenticity is such a key to getting over in pro wrestling. I mean, charisma is obviously having some in-ring skills or a presence, all of that. But authenticity, not looking like you're putting on an act, but you're completely different outside the ring in every way. Obviously, it's pro wrestling. You're playing a bombastic, inflated version of yourself. But, you know, as Matt McCarthy, who I interviewed a lot, he was an ex-WWE creative team member and hosted a wrestling podcast and stand-up comedian, predominantly a stand-up comedian. He's just like, stand-up comics have a persona. It's a slice of who they are when they start. They refine it. Their audience follows them for it. And their audience has to believe that is authentically who they are to buy into their comedy, because comedy is very intimate. I mean, you're laughing with someone's observations at the world, and there's an angle to it. And he goes, sometimes, you know, comedians change over time in real life, but they hold on to that persona because that's how they make their money and sell tickets. And so, you know, pro wrestlers aren't movie actors, but they're also not sports athletes. I think they're closest to stand-up comedians. I use that analogy a lot because fans want to buy that who you are on TV is in some form or fashion, not just a role you're assigned. It was something that the promoter found in you that they thought they can amplify and market. Vince McMahon would always say, we take a trait of somebody that we think is marketable and we just amplify it. We don't, you know, I mean, he didn't always do that. I mean, like sometimes he just, you know, Bill Irwin, like there's people he just had be plumbers and boogeymen and stuff like that weren't connected. And that was not a good era. The boom period came when people thought that's who Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, is like in real life. That's who Steve Austin's like. Hey, Triple H, full of himself, very ambitious, you know, all that stuff. So anyway,
well, I think that's true. It's got to be derivative of reality for it to be able to be entered into as any form of reality. And I think that's how kayfabe works, right? And this new thing that they're working with, I think, is an attempt maybe to get back to some of that, right? Where letting us in on the behind the scenes, but it's still going to be very controlled. And so it's reigniting.
I won't judge it till I see it.
Right. I'm skeptical of the Netflix one.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's a whole separate topic. But like, what is the motivation? Is it creating programming that undercuts your main? Is it creating shoulder programming that undercuts your main programming and the world that you create that you want people to buy into? Is it a self-serving thing to show I'm the most open promoter and booker ever and you should love me more because of it, again at the expense of the product and the wrestlers? Or is it just connected to the reality of what people know? And there's been plenty of documentaries and Hall of Fame speeches that have pulled the curtain back, and we see the gorilla position, and they're going to be careful about what they select. So we'll see. I mean, we'll get to that when the day comes. But I think it's fair to be nervous about it and go, wait, are they going to go a little further than makes sense? But I mean, we're decades into wrestling books being written with every curtain being pulled back. So as long as they keep it out of the narrative opening to closing credits of the shows, there's room for me to, you know, be open to that without thinking. But we'll see.
I mean, I know we're a little tangential, but are you watching the LFG show they're doing on?
I lost interest after a couple episodes. Okay. I've got. I mean, it's on the DVR.
It's easy
catching up one of these days.
Right?
Yeah.
But if there was a moment where one of the guys, I forget who it is, gets kicked off, but he's already on NXT TV, And
Yeah.
it feels to me like this is programming where they're trying to establish some kind of new kayfabe, right? Where you can't put the genie back in, but you
Hmm.
can just find another bottle, right? And so it feels like they're establishing like second order realities outside the ring that then force us to think what's real and what's not. I think that's interesting. And that's the kind of stuff that I think they need to show us at Tiffany Stratton. Otherwise, she's going to stay one note.
Yeah, and that's a key. Just, I mean, she's young in the business. She's young in real life,
Yeah.
and she'll grow before our very eyes. But mic
Yeah.
work and character work is her in ring work and her push is ahead of that.
Yeah.
Derek Hubbard says they're making a concerted effort to show a tougher edge to Tiffany. I agree. She could use more coaching on the mic and use more bass in her voice and show a rougher vocal style. There is just something. I mean, you're taught that don't talk from your throat, talk from your diaphragm, and it can be.
Yeah.
It takes some practice to do that. But I think it would match her character, her current character better. I think what she's doing matches her previous character, and we can all do different things with our voices depending on context.
Right.
JC Scooby 1976 says the more Tiffy works on promos, the better she gets. She's good at talking in interviews and less bubbly. That's the thing. Sometimes the best advice on a promo is to talk more like you do in real life. Like I've said that about Bianca Belair. I'd like her character to reflect this badass grown-up alpha female who you see in mainstream media interviews instead of this kind of cartoonish derivative carbon copy of some outdated character. Sean Plichta says, Jason, I agree for sure, but she still needs to cut better promos to show us who she is to us, pull us in a real way. So anyway, bottom line is she is on her way, but it's not a finished product. Mark Piscetti said she reminds me of early Kurt Angle on the mic. Awkward. She also reminds me of Angle and how fast she's getting good in the ring. That's a compliment she can take to heart.
Yeah.
And I think that should overall be motivating.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's pause and formally introduce the show here and give some details on how people can participate, and then we'll hit on other topics. Of course, a lot happened on tonight's show. This is the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show for Friday, May 16th, 2025. I'm Wade Keller, host of the show. I'm the editor, publisher, and founder of the Pro Wrestling Torch Weekly newsletter. I launched the newsletter when I was in high school at the kind of burgeoning pro wrestling journalism movement when pre-internet. There were fanzines and fan club bulletins that had kind of eventually morphed into straight kind of trying to apply journalism to independent journalism to covering the pro wrestling industry. And I've been doing it 35 plus years. I took college courses in journalism. When I graduated college, I didn't apply for jobs. I built this business up where I had the income I needed to pay off my college loans over time and make a living on this. And I've been doing it ever since. And it's been a blast through all these different technologies. We have an article up on pwtorch.com and pwtorchvip.com from one of our newer contributors, which is a top 5 list from Chris Griffin. And it's titled Ways Pro Wrestling Has Helped Grow Media Platforms from TV in the 50s to cable and podcasts and pay-per-view and streaming. So I recommend everybody check that out. Of course, I hope everyone's checking out pwtorch.com every day because we have people working hard on that content. And I love proofreading and editing the articles we get. And I think there is good reading on a daily basis. So everybody listening to us on the podcast side, watching us on YouTube, please open a tab, create a bookmark, and make it a daily habit to read our content. There's some really good writers with different perspectives and viewpoints and experiences watching wrestling. We have added a lot to our team, and we just launched our ROH Chips and Misses column tonight also. We're filling in our coverage more and adding more great writing. So that's my push for the website. Check it out. We launched that back in 1999, and that also includes my live TV and pay-per-view reports, along with a lot of other coverage too. We have fun flashbacks too. We just put up our 20 years ago Smackdown flashback, or 20 years ago Impact flashback. It's crazy, Chris, how many people on Impact 20 years ago are on AEW TV now. Like, it is like there's wild. So many people. Yeah. Behind Sanjay Dutt, Jeff Jarrett. I mean, Chris, when that Chris Sabin is on.
Repeating itself. Yeah.
Yeah. The number 2 group often has a lot of the same people. Yeah. But anyway, so if you want to participate in the show tonight, multiple ways to do it. You can join the chat if you're watching us live on YouTube. You can find us live after Raw, Dynamite, and Smackdown, and then other hosts after PLEs and NXT on the PWTorch YouTube channel. The link is in the TV reports, and you can be part of the show by chatting. So if you're watching us live on YouTube, that's the way to go. I keep an eye on that. Put the comments up on the screen. I always read them for our podcast audience. We built our podcast audience up over 15 years. We don't want them to feel left out. So when I put them on the screen, I always read them out loud before we refer to them. So you're getting seen and heard by both platforms. And also, you can email us, wadekellerpodcast@gmail.com. And that's even if you don't watch us live, you can email us during the TV shows and we can read your email on the air. And then finally, if you're a PWTorch VIP member or Patreon supporter, you can be a VIP caller. And we limit it to our VIP members and Patreon supporters. And go ahead and check out that link either on the PWTorch Patreon page or on in my TV reports on the VIP website. You can become a VIP member or just find out information on the vast library dating back nearly 4 decades now of content, hundreds of fascinating retro radio shows from the 90s, including my run on KFAN radio in the early 90s with big name interviews, journalist roundtable discussions, live callers. Really fun format to dive into and hear my younger voice covering the early 90s, which wasn't a great, it was post boom period, pre-boom period. But it was still a really fun show. And then over 2 decades of podcasts also on demand and podcast feed with ad-free versions of our free shows. The commercials are just skipped past, and also a customizable RSS feed that gives you access to VIP exclusive shows and an ad-free website. Anyway, that's all detailed at pwtorch.com/govip. We'd love to have your support. You can pay by credit card, debit card, PayPal, Patreon, Spotify, or your Apple account. We detail it all with different price points and benefits on that page. All right. The other voice you have seen so far on the show is Chris Adams. He is a contributor to PWTorch and the website also, in addition to being a co-host of on this show in rotation and also a new VIP show. Chris, tell people about what you're doing and how they can hear and read more from you during the week.
Sure. So I do SmackDown hits and misses. So if you want to get sort of a quick take on what were the high spots and what were the low spots, you can read my column that comes out after SmackDown airs over the weekend. But I'm also working on a weekly podcast called Catching the Culture with Kurt Cadet, a.k.a. Conscious Kurt.
He'll be co-hosting with me next week right here,
Kurt
next Friday.
GPT. Oh, he's going to do it next Friday?
Yeah,
Sweet.
next Friday, yeah.
So our podcast is awesome. Again, I'm biased, but we talk about recent events in wrestling. But then the thing that I think makes it unique is we take a year and we pick a big moment in wrestling, a big match, a big event, pay-per-view, a big feud, and we pair it up with a important film from that year. We look at the ways that wrestling is or is not catching the culture. Is it tracking with what was going on in the world at the time? How are these forms of entertainment playing with each other? Today, we just recorded an episode on The Dark Knight and the 2008 feud between Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho, and we just had a hell of a good time.
That's awesome.
So, $5 for a VIP membership, right, Wade?
No, it's actually more than that.
How much is it right now?
Well, there's different tiers. There's a starting point at $5.99, and
what
then
was the cheapest way for them to get access to that library?
To that show, $9.99. Yeah,
$9.99. Is there anywhere else on the internet?
It's twice as much as $5.
Well, that's twice as much as $5. But look, $9.99 is still even a deal. Nowhere else on the internet can you get.
It's actually cheaper if you buy a year. It averages out.
Yeah,
the cheapest rate actually is probably closer to $5 if you buy a yearly package.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, get it, not just for my show, but for all the content you've got. I
don't care why you get it. Get it just for your show.
Just get it.
Yeah, or get it in spite of your show. We just want members. We're a business. We want customers.
That's right. To spite me.
Yes, exactly. Whatever you can. When you sign up, you can email. I signed up to spite Chris Adams, or I signed up because of Chris Adams. Either way works. We'll take your business. The doors are open.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. That's such a great concept. I mean, I love adding podcasts to the mix, and on the VIP side and on the PWTorch DailyCast side. That is a concept I would not have come up with, and I love when I put two people together who I think will complement each other as you two do, and then you come up with this concept, and it works and it clicks. Yeah, it's awesome. So
friendships come out of it too, man. Yes. So thanks for that.
Yep, I love that. It's a side benefit, but like the friendships that have been made with people who podcast, who have been paired together by me as I get to know everybody who contributes. I'm like, you know what? I think these two are a good match, and you guys hash it out on email and then talk on the phone or whatever it is, and and end up coming up with a show concept. It's really fun. There's a lot of them on the site, both on the PWTorch Daily Cast lineup
cool.
and on the VIP side of things. So, yeah, that's awesome.
It is.
All right, so I think that takes care of just the business side of things. So let's get back to conversations here.
Let's do it.
BJF says Andrew and Mike were so good. I love the $5 challenge. Mike Meyer said catching the culture is catching on in my household.
All right. Okay.
Mike Myers in the mix on the Acknowledging WWE show. Other people talking about Mike and Andrew. They are missed. I would love for them to come back and do a reunion show.
You're missed. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Let's see. So why don't we go to a caller, and we're going to bring in Sean from Tennessee first. Sean Plichta to lead us in new directions in our conversation. Chris, welcome. Thought I'd bring you on early today instead of late. Welcome.
Wade, I appreciate that. No, I do. I thank you for getting me a chance to get on here and say my thoughts about the show. It was a fun show, guys. It really was a fun show. This is the better Smackdown in a while. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of fun stuff to talk about, but I'm with you guys on the main event. I really enjoyed it a lot. I think because Jason had said it multiple times, like they're trying to show her toughness, and I agree, and I think that would help, and I think it did tonight. And continuing to show her, be more relatable, I think that's really going to help. And the one thing about tonight that I loved was, especially I call him Jeff Cobb. I know his name's JC Mateo now. I know it's going to be hard. I'm going to have to get used to that. But when that match happened with him and LA Knight, and Nick Aldis said, we're going to have this match, you know what we thought, right? They're going to have a 15-minute match, and all of a sudden Solo's going to interfere, and it's going to tick me off. And I'm like, there actually wasn't really interference. LA Knight kind of looked like a goofus by like looking at them instead of focused on the match. But there wasn't a lot of actual interference in the matches tonight, which was really fun. I like that. I hope they stick with that. What do you guys think? Was that noticeable to you watching the show?
What do you think, Chris? They teased more than they did in terms of interference. They also they referred to the Aleister Black Carmelo Hayes finish, which involved Miz, as a no contest in the graphic late in the show. And it's not a no contest. Right. It's a win for Black because Miz interfered on behalf of Carmelo. And do graphics people not like understand how match finishes work? Does Paul Levesque not know? Like, why would you want it to be a no contest when you can say Black won by disqualification? That was not a no contest. That bugged me.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah.
There were lots of little things like that, but going to this match, so I didn't expect him to get basically a clean win over LA Knight, right? Without shenanigans so much. I mean, I know there was some, but not in the way that he was floored and then they took advantage of him. JC Mateo is so incredibly undefined to me at this point that I wasn't quite sure what to make of the segment itself. And in fact, I thought he was really awkward at times tonight, which made my ability to really get into this match. It took me a while to get into it. I was surprised, though, and pleased that it wasn't just a sloppy DQ finish. Yeah,
I think for people who were not used to Jeff Cobb, I don't think this was a particularly impressive performance. No. I don't think it was like awful, but I mean, he was more Solo Sikoa, just like, okay. But for 15 minutes, I don't think he made a big impression. I mean, there are a couple spots here and there that were good, but I mean, I don't know. Derek Hubbard in the chat says, I've seen a lot of Jeff Cobb, and I think he has skill. With that said, he's going to find out working in front of a WWE crowd is more than just moves, and Phoenix is finding that out right now. Derek Hubbard adds, Cobb needs to work on his selling. He lazily sells punches. He moves his head a little and does nothing with his arms or body. I mean, people come in with a reputation because they worked in front of crowds in Japan. It doesn't mean, that they don't have room to adjust or frankly improve. Cobb looked like an out of shape guy in a t-shirt working a Solo Sikoa style match. I mean,
very short,
a short guy in a t-shirt who didn't look, I mean, Wade Barrett saying he's a ball of muscle. Was it a ball of muscle? Is that the
he called him a ball of muscle?
Yeah, and he did at the pay-per-view too. Like, I mean, I've seen enough of Jeff Cobb. I mean, I think there's room to improve. And by the way, this was LA Knight. Like, there's going to be some limitations with LA Knight too. So but I'm not. I don't mean to cast blame. I am just saying the end product to me, I don't think the average SmackDown viewer is going, whoa, this Jeff Cobb guy who was an Olympian who spent all these years in Japan is going to be a real tough matchup for this phenom, Jacob Fatu. I think he came across like a guy who people aren't that interested in seeing Jacob Fatu against. So there's some work to be done there. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm not trying to body shame, but somebody made the decision to have him go out looking like that, which immediately did not do anything to one's perception of him as a kind of Wolverine kind of character, short and explosive, right? And I say that as somebody who does have a little chunk, so I'm not trying to shame, right? But it just wasn't. It didn't.
You're not asking people to pay you to see wrestle, and
correct.
At the same time, you don't have to.
That's
you do not need to be thin to be a really good wrestler. There are. I mean, Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens, two of my favorites are not LA Knight or Logan Paul with abs. Yeah,
they just didn't. WWE didn't do enough to make him feel threatening in any way. And to make his win over LA Knight then felt almost like not a burial, but I mean, they had this guy go over on him, right? And yeah, that it felt strange to me. Not necessarily bad, definitely not good. I just wasn't vibing with it. I mean, Sean, did you like it overall, or?
No, I mean, that's kind of what I thought. Like when they first came out, he just, I mean, we saw it a little bit, at the PLE, but when he was there, it was just like, man, he doesn't feel, they didn't really do enough, like you said, on the PLE to think, oh my gosh, this guy is somebody you must see. And then when he came out with them, he just looked little league to them. He really did. It was like, man, I don't think this guy's a big deal. I saw a little bit of the AEW, the few matches they had in AEW, and I was like, he's fine, but I don't think he's like gonna be a huge star from what I can tell. But I just didn't. There wasn't enough sample size for me to know. But I was not enthused. I mean, the match was what it was. But like Derek said, I mean, LA did do a lot of the work. I mean, he did do a lot of the movement. Did a lot. I mean, it was an okay match for what it was. But it was just like, he doesn't do much for me right now. But there's time.
Derek Hubbard said in the chat, Knight was working twice as hard as Jeff Cobb in the match. He created all the movement and brought all the energy. BJF in the chat said, I know him as Matanza and Jeff Cobb, but if I'd never seen it before, I'd not be impressed.
Yeah, so there's time. It's still early. So
yeah, for sure. Yep.
And then I wanted to hear your thoughts. This is kind of it was a very small piece, but of course we were talking about Charlotte. Chris, you probably heard we were talking about Charlotte last week, and I was maybe a little too harsh. I probably went back and like, okay, maybe I know what they were going for. I just think when she gets booed, she does not know how to handle it. That's my opinion. When she gets booed, she does not know how to handle it. And that's, I guess, my main issue with this whole thing. But the backstage with Alexa was really intriguing because I was like, where is this coming from? Like, I've never seen anything with them in a long, long time. So I'm like, where is this coming from? Alexa I liked when Alexa was interviewing with Byron, and she's like, wait a second, Byron, I'll talk. And then she went, and they followed her to Charlotte, which was cool.
That production
I
technique.
like that.
Yep. And they didn't just film. This is what I've been pushing. I think I've eliminated the word bit. I'm going to give myself credit here.
Man.
I've eliminated the word bitch from the vocabulary of most wrestling shows now. Security guards haven't been beat up for weeks because I shamed the wrestling industry into stopping that.
Wait, that's me and you. We did it.
Yes. Oh, there's other people. I don't know. I'm me right now. I'm giving myself the credit, but other people can.
That's right.
The tag team match saves, they're actually knocking people off and lifting their shoulders instead of just lazily laying there.
No, wait, they did not in the triple threat with Jimmy. When Jimmy went it, whoever had had his shoulders down. He did not get in there early enough, and his solo shoulders were still down.
They're not perfect. They're not perfect, but they're not. It's you can tell that it's actually something that's a thought on wrestlers' minds now instead of just something that they don't even think about. But no, it's not 100%. But yeah, the next and then the other thing that I harped on, and it's been years now, is they just would film people on their cell phone. That like, we're gonna just film someone backstage, and then someone walks in to make it interesting. It's like, that's so stupid. Why would you film someone on their cell phone unless it's a scripted show and someone's gonna walk in? But that's not the narrative structure of pro wrestling as it's presented. So now they are finding new ways, which is, and I said specifically, have wrestlers be about to be interviewed, and then they notice something off to the side, and the camera follows them over, and that's how we get these candid conversations. And it's literally what they're starting to do now. We've seen it more than once. So yeah, I mean, I mean, sometimes you just need through the grapevine to hear someone, you know, whoever it is, just going, let's do this a little different and have it make a little more sense. And if it was unfixable, I wouldn't harp on it. It's just so easily fixable, and it feels so much more organic, Sean, as you pointed out, Coach. You know, you have Alexa about to be interviewed, and then she sees Charlotte, and she's like, I want to go see her. I didn't mind the exchange. I mean, it was, hey, you were decent to me many years ago. And I think the viewer at home is going, Alexa, have you not kept up with Charlotte? She's not the same person she was back when you first met her. She is not the same person. And Charlotte was like, I don't remember that. Blew her off. I like that. Charlotte should, you know, Charlotte's a heel. She should blow off Alexa and go, I don't take pride in being a nice person in the past. In fact, I'm going to blow you off. You're not even a memory. Chris, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I thought it was consistent with some of what I've heard. Charlotte is interested in having her character evolve, and so it felt a bit reflective of that. I don't even remember being kind to you, right? It was a sort of like living in two different realities. I'm above you, I'm beyond you. I thought that was good. It was the best bit of Charlotte Flair that I've seen since she's actually come back, right? Where it felt like there was something going on beyond just this sort of flustering stuff on the surface. So I dug it. Yeah. I'd like to see them figure out what Alexa Bliss is doing, because I'm not quite sure who or what or where she is going. I'm not sure. We got you on mute, Wade.
I got to keep the streak alive. I'm relieved. I don't have to like worry about it later now.
It's
I've
over.
done it. Yeah. It's done. I don't do it twice. I only do it once. I'm okay waiting for the Alexa journey to play out. You know, I mean, I'm like, I don't need to know yet. I mean, I hope it's good, but I don't feel like I don't feel they owe me an explanation of what she's up to right now. You know, she just said we should talk, and you know, she actually said, have you given thought to what I talked to you about? There's actually, you know, so yeah, we'll see. I mean, I like a little mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What else?
Yeah. So I was actually thinking about Wade. We talked about this last year during the Money in the Bank qualifying matches, and I remember bringing up like, why do we have triple threats? But you made a good point that it was like, okay, triple threats are a good way for somebody to not take a pin, to have a fine match. You know, you're trying to get everybody in. You're trying to do it quicker. You only have so much time to get all these matches in. So triple threats actually make a little more sense in that context. What did you think about Solo winning? Was it the right choice, do you think, to have him go over in the match? And, you know, I'm so curious. Money in the Bank's intriguing because I really don't know what they're thinking for that right now. I mean, it's really up for grabs on both sides. There's no like, oh, this guy should win or that guy should win.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many options. For us to pretend there's only one course that can make sense is arrogant or naive. Like, if you can say, I want Rey Fenix to win. I'm sad he won't be in that match, although maybe there'll be some way for him to, you know, the losers to get in a last chance match or something. But honestly, I mean, I like, it could have been anyone, and it wasn't predictable, and Solo won. I'm not thrilled with it, but I'm confident there's a point to it. I'm confident that we will see a couple months from now look back and go, that's why they did that. And it might be because they have something very cool and special for both Jimmy and Rey, where they don't want them in that match, and there's a key storyline moment going into or during or coming out of the Money in the Bank. So, I mean, I have a wait-and-see attitude as far as that goes. I don't think it's absurd, but prediction-wise, he would have been my third pick to win in this match because it seems like he's got other stuff going. But I'm not like outraged or upset. I just let's see what they do. Chris, how about you?
I was surprised that they went with him for the win, but then cynically, it's like, well, he would be, an easy person to count out, right? He doesn't add much unpredictability to the match itself, in my opinion. I'll tell you what I am most frustrated about so far. The Money in the Bank qualifying matches are those damn graphics. I do not like the little spy versus spy thing. I thought we left them behind last year. So that's what got me the most frustrated. Not Solo Sikoa winning. I don't think much will come from it, though.
Yeah. All right. What else, Sean?
So going to the tag teams, I like that they're building up. I feel like they're starting to try to build up the tag team division a little bit in a fun way. Like the Street Profits, of course, we talked about. We don't really know who they are, what they're trying to do. I did think Montez was way over the top tonight. I thought it was.
It's just too much for me. I mean, it's just personal, but I couldn't be in a room with that for 10 seconds without just running. I don't know how anyone could be around somebody who's like that for more than a over-the-top wrestling promo for 20 seconds. I am sorry. Cannot deal with it. But I'm, whatever. Yeah.
And so the Fraxium DIY match tonight was awesome. Like, it was just fantastic. Like, that Nathan and Axiom are so good together. Like, they work so well. Nathan Frazier could be one of the best workers in the business. Like, he is one of the most high-flying, fun, quick, agile. So, like, I wonder what kind of story. That's what I'm worried about. With the only worry I would have is like we were talking about before. I don't want. That's why I was kind of interested they were rushing to the tag match. I'm glad it's on a SmackDown. Like, that's cool. I just hope that there's a story they're telling, because I don't want Fraxium just to win the titles right away like MCMG did, and then they just kind of go by the wayside and they don't feel there anymore. Do you think there's a story they're going? What kind of story do you think they're telling with them right now with Fraxium?
I think because they did that already with Motor City Machine Guns, which I was fine with. It instantly told the audience these people are relevant. They're top tier. Then they lose the belts. Okay. But I mean, they're in the spot they would have been had they not won them, with the trade-off being their ex-champion. So they got that credibility boost, but they aren't chasing their first major WWE tag team title. And that took something away from them. So it's just a trade-off, but I was fine with it. And I like there to be some unexpected frequent title changes mixed in with really long reigns. I just don't think every time someone wins a belt, it should be forever. In UFC, sometimes there was one belt in UFC during the glory period that I watched where there'd be a champ who held it for 2 years, and other times there'd be one belt that never got defended successfully. And I like that mix. But I'm with you, Sean. I wouldn't want them to do the same thing with this new heralded tag team from NXT that they just did with the Machine Guns. I like when there's, and we had it tonight, a clear babyface heel dynamic, and I think the crowd was more engaged. And I think what the talented tag team wrestlers deserve is crowd engagement. And you're going to get crowd engagement when fans are led through weeks of television to feel a certain way about wrestlers, where when they face other wrestlers are either rooting for or against them. And we had that. The DIY are great heels. Axiom and Frazier are so dynamic, and they've done nothing to turn off the audience. And I think people are excited about them, and they're being touted well. I like that. What I don't like is that how the whole, and I'd be brief on this because I talk about it because it's been the case for the whole season of tag team, is they're all just interacting with each other constantly. I just want a couple to pair off and feud, and a couple others to pair off and feud. I don't want it to feel like the X Division where they're all feuding with each other all the time indiscriminately. But I'm not giving like a huge thumbs down to it. It's just my preference is they deserve to just have a feud as it is booked for women singles and men's singles. It doesn't have to just be there's this division and they're just crossing paths and indiscriminately running in and attacking each other with, and the Street Profits, who have been baby faces, but not all that likable. And it felt like they were going different directions with them. So I don't know. I mean, I just give a C grade to the tag division, but the matches are really good. And obviously that helps prop it up.
I think the biggest problem for me having this sort of constant cross-pollination is it robs any suspense from these feuds, right? Like, it doesn't allow you to build up any kind of mystique, any kind of depth to it. If it's the same thing every week and the same kind of storytelling, it just gets very repetitive to me. But I don't think it needs to be anymore. I thought DIY was the best I've seen them since their heel turn, in my preference. There was just something about it in this match tonight. So they've got the opportunity for greatness there.
Yeah, was it weird? Was it weird last week when Fraxium got the match the way they did, knowing the Street Profits were banged up, and they're like, "Hey, we want to have a match because we want to test ourselves. Like, normally that'd be fine, but it's like they're banged up." Then DIY last week when they attacked them said, "You see what you did? The way they did it. It was like, that's weird. A heel saying that too. It was just kind of weird. I mean, were you thinking the same thing I was during that? Because that just seems so weird the way they played that." With Fraxium getting the match the way they did, last week.
I mean, it was a weird little sequence to get them into the match and then to have them both win and then kind of celebrate. Yeah.
And they took it away from them by saying Street Profits weren't 100%, and now next week the story is they will be. And then you have Montez Ford ominously going, I hope you guys aren't
Right.
injured. And like, what do you have planned? Why
Oh,
should
I
we have
wonder
reason
what
to be
that could
worried?
be. My
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
Parking lot attack. Yeah.
Did you cut my brake line? Is it like a 1970s
That would
detective
be
show?
dope, though.
You know,
I
you cut,
would rock with that, though.
as a kid growing up watching all those like those 70s shows, like the cop
Yeah.
shows, I thought like you're getting your brake line cut was going to happen to everybody at some point
All
in
the
life. They're going to
time,
be
like-
steering down a road and trying to avoid going over a cliff in California.
Shit. Yeah.
So that's what I thought. You know, Montez, be careful, check your
Well, look,
brakes. Axiom.
that kind of behavior would match his laugh and his attire tonight. That's some like real Joker. So
yeah,
he just needs to take it further, and then
Yep.
it will be awesome.
yeah.
By
the way,
quick things.
before you go, before you move on to the next topic, Jeremy Diaz in the chat says we actually have real tag teams again. Now they just need to book a real feud and not a tag team Royal Rumble every week or month, and that's what I'm agreeing with. And then Brock Benningfield just says they are going all in on tweener with the Street Profits. So are Street Profits tweeners, or are they baby faces with a little edge? Is it contextual? What do you think Chris is going on with them?
Tweener, like I've got a tween at my home right now, and
Mhm.
it hurts. So yeah, I guess I could see a little bit of it, right? It still feels like they don't quite know who they want them to be in this new iteration, and they're trying several things, which I guess is, trying things on for size. You got to get them somewhere, but to do it while they have the belts, to me, is a strange kind of. It's like when you shoot a big budget movie without having the script finished. It gets a little messy, right? That's where it feels like it is to me.
Mm-hmm. The couple of quick things. I'm excited about they put Drew and Damian on because it was weird because when Drew won the street fight, I was like, okay, that's it. And then they went back to it, which is fine. I just think Drew needs to get the decisive win in the cage on Saturday night's main event, but they're building up that show actually bigger than I thought, which is good. I mean, you put some good matches on the show, make it feel a little bigger. Yeah. And then with R-Truth sit down, I thought it was interesting. I thought R-Truth was being fun like he always is, but then he said, "Oh, if Cena wants to do that, I'll wrestle him and I'll beat him." I like that he was I like the way they went about that. I wanted to hear what you guys thought about the interview. I thought it was really interesting how R-Truth kind of played it. It was interesting. I mean, the scene at the heel turn so far has not done much for me, but I'm trying to give it time, see what they do, if there's more they can come up with. But this is intriguing for Saturday night's main event. So what did you think of the interview and how they played it?
Yeah, R-Truth, like, it was interesting. I wasn't expecting him to have a line that said, I'm going to basically beat some sense into him and get him back on track, because they've portrayed him as sort of oblivious to that, to a comedic fault. But now that there's an actual match, I think they need there to be some sort of a mission. And why would R-Truth want to fight John? Like he said, John Cena smashed me through a table because Cena wanted to win on his own and he was mad at me for helping. So he like framed it as this altruistic thing Cena did to teach Truth a lesson, to not interfere on his behalf. But they framed it as Cena would have lost Orton if not for R-Truth. That was the narrative in the replay. So, but Truth is saying, I live by Cena's words. I grew up with them, the whole delusion of that. But now he sees him straying. There's an acknowledgement now that something isn't quite right, and Truth wants to knock him back on course. So I didn't expect that twist. I think it's a good thing to add to Truth's character so he doesn't seem, pathetically, obliviously slow.
Right.
Chris. I thought it was cool. It was the most substantive, the meatiest bit of work that I've seen of R-Truth that I've ever seen since he wasn't there when I was watching. It made me a little bit more interested to see what he did with his Ron Killings work in TNA, to see what went on there. But I know that's for a whole other story. What I loved about the promo was the sort of him saying that guy's not John Cena, right? That's a shadow of who he really can be. And I really appreciated that through line. Hey, sometimes it takes your friend to call you back to who you should be. I don't know. I really appreciate that. So it made me a bit more interested in watching them square off. It really did.
Yeah. All right, Sean.
So Wade, so much content this week, as every week. It's crazy to go through it all. It's too much. Chris, I'm enjoying your show with Kurt. I'm enjoying what you're doing on the site, man.
Thanks.
Always fun talking with you guys, and I hope to be on very soon.
Awesome. Good talking with you,
Okay.
Sean.
Good to
Thanks.
see you, Sean.
See you guys.
Thanks. Yep. All right. Let's go. Actually, there's an email asking if this is from Houston Rhodes, who says, so R-Truth was confirmed tonight to be challenging Cena for the title at Sunday's main event. From your point of view, does this seem like a good move? And then he followed up and he said, does it seem like a good move for the childhood hero comedy aspect, or more so, is it a waste of Cena's limited dates on a retirement tour? Yeah, we all knew he'd have matches with Orton, but at least in that situation, it wasn't 100% obvious he was retaining. And then he did follow up and go, never mind, it's not for sure if it's for the title or not. It doesn't make sense for them to waste Cena in a non-title match either. So I read that email in addition to Sadler version 3 in the chat going, is it a title match? The graphic didn't say it was. My belief is it's not a title match. I think this is just a personal sort of grudge match, for lack of a better term, over what Cena did to him. I don't think, let me see. I was going to try to look up what Jason Paul over Pursing.net has a lineup. He says it's a non-title match. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's
I got non-title.
Yeah. And I mean, and I'm fine with that. I don't think every match Cena has to be a title match. And frankly, I shouldn't even say frankly, R-Truth does not deserve a title match. So it'd be ridiculous for him to get a title match. I mean, that would have been
crazy.
Wild. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what would have been wild though is if, like, some fluke by chance he got a clean win because Cena got knocked unconscious. What would they do? How would they handle that? Would he be the champ? Jesus, would they cut the feed? Like, oh my God. Yeah. I'm kind of interested in it because they could play really well with the idea of don't meet your heroes, right? Like, it's interesting.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's shift to Jason D from Australia. Bring him on.
Sweet.
As an audio caller. Jason, good to hear from you. What's on your mind about SmackDown tonight?
Yeah, thanks, Wade and Chris. I want to touch on what you guys were talking about with the R-Truth and Cena match, because listening to what R-Truth's saying, I'm thinking to myself, are they starting to plant the seeds for Cena hasn't been himself? So how this match plays out, is there going to be a moment in the match where R-Truth, this is going to be more of a story type of match, where Cena's about to do something in a ruthless way, and R-Truth's like, no, that's not you. Like, or is Cena just going to go all in? Is there going to be a moment where Cena rethinks things? Like, is this the start of Cena rethinking what he's done, and R-Truth has this belief in him? I got a lot more out of that interview than what I thought. And Truth came, I know he comes across, he plays the disillusioned character, but what he's trying to say, there's some meat there. And now I'm going to be interested to see how this story plays out, the story they tell in the match. And if Cena just is like, no, and the story after the match is, no, this is who Cena is now, there is no going back, or is there something there? So I'm intrigued by this development tonight with the show.
I think it's too soon to turn Cena babyface. So, like, to me, they could have done this match after 2 or 3 more Cena title matches against babyfaces, and then R-Truth comes in, and that leads to Cena. Cena beats up Truth, and then I don't look forward to Cena's acting in this, but Truth is hurt and laying underneath him, and Truth just looks up at him and with puppy dog eyes, I can't believe you're doing this, and Cena kind of shakes, and all of a sudden it's like, he's moved into a new, back into the old realm. Kind of the elevator ride in Severance. It's just like, oh, Cena's back as the old Cena. But it seems too soon. To me, it's too soon to have R-Truth and Cena have the definitive exchange like that. So, I don't think they're going to turn Cena babyface unless they're pulling the plug and they think it's terrible and they think that we're better off having him, sell merchandise and wrestle heels. I think there's more babyface matches for him, including Cody again. Chris, what do you think?
What I'm hoping for, and what I think could possibly happen, is Cena could a bit more sadistically harm R-Truth, because he hasn't really done anything nefarious really in his heel turn. He's low blown and he's hit people over the head with the title, right? And it hasn't worked. People are cheering him. They've got the opportunity to turn him now if they wanted to, but I don't think so, right? I think they could use it as an opportunity to brutalize him. They're not going to make it bloody because it's on NBC, but the shot of of a slightly sadistic, more enraged big John Cena just having beat the absolute crap out of R-Truth is an effective way to get the crowd to say, no, no, screw you, John Cena. Whether they will or not, I don't know.
I think it's more likely Cena brutalizes Truth than Cena beating up Truth leads to a moment of introspection,
Right.
and Cena shaking, kind of shaking out of the zone that he's been in. Jason, I mean, I get what you're saying, but it maybe they revisit it later. And you could argue too, maybe R-Truth isn't a serious enough character to be the person who shakes Cena out of his heel run and appreciating the fans. It's possible like R-Truth is being brutalized by heels in September, and Cena happens to see it, and it's too much for him. So maybe Cena doesn't brutalize Truth now, but Truth is being brutalized by heels late August, September, something like that, and then Cena just But I don't know. I mean, I don't want to book it on the fly here. I mean, they were going to put thought into it. How they do it and the pace they do it is based on all these other things that they want to fit in and that they intend to do. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that Cena's going to turn full on babyface, but what I'm saying is, I'm interested to see where they go with this. So, like you say, Chris, is this a match where Cena just absolutely brutalizes Truth, and there's no going back? And Truth is speaking for the fans who still think there is some good in John Cena. Mm-hmm. That this is just a person. He's just going through this phase in his life. His personality has changed due to what he's going through himself. Yeah. Is Truth speaking for the fans who think there's still some good in there in John Cena? And are we going to see slightly that before Cena's like, no, it's not there? Or is it just 100% no, this is who John Cena is? So is this going to be a reality check for those fans that still think there's something good there in John Cena? And he's like, no, there's nothing good there. Because we obviously still need to get Cody Cena too. And we need that moment where Cody has to decide whether he goes the low road or the high road, which we are going to see because that's part of Cody's character arc too. So, yeah.
Very good. What else, Jason?
So I'm intrigued with what they're doing with Alexa Bliss and Charlotte. And I think with Alexa, as she's somewhat linked to the White Six, this is the beginning of trying to turn Charlotte babyface, right? And they're going to use Alexa to try and do that. And it could be, we've seen with the White Six, they kind of use a bit of dark psychology. Are we going to see skits where Alexa sort of goes into Charlotte's past and we kind of figure out that this front that Charlotte's been putting on, like her personality's all been a front, that there's a softer side there, and they're going to use Alexa to try and get that out of her. This is where I think the story's going. It's ultimately to get Charlotte to be a bit more sympathetic and explain why she is like she is. I don't see Charlotte just pushing Alexa to the side. I think over a couple of month period, they're going to try and bring out a more likable side to Charlotte and explain why she is, and make the fans a bit more sympathetic to her using Alexa to do this.
Chris, we talked a little bit about it earlier, but I like what Jason's saying. I think I like Alexa being a persona, a character who is portrayed as smart and can play psychological games to her benefit. It would fit with the White Six if they ever bring that back. It can fit with her just being sort of a spin-off of the group without, of that whole realm with Bray. But the idea that, have you thought about what I told you? And the kind of the mind games for good, I think fits her, and fans would buy into that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's like a positive trickster that is kind of cool. Haven't seen that. I guess my worry is, would the fans accept Charlotte becoming a compelling babyface, or does she have go away heat? I
don't think they're turning Charlotte through this. I'll say that. I don't.
Really?
I think I think Charlotte's staying. I think Alexa's messing with Charlotte, but I can't imagine. I mean, I'd have to look at the lay of the land and the roster and stuff, but I don't think they want that to put up that fight against that headwind. I think they think Charlotte's much better off as a heel right now, and I think she should just get some help behind the scenes dealing with heel heat, which is what she's supposed to get. And I think she should stay off social media and just be a professional doing her job and not worry about what randos online are saying about her. I mean, it's just toxic, and if that's what she's doing, I mean, it's not healthy. Step away. Life goes on. You're getting paychecks. You're a superstar performer recognized worldwide. Have some pride. Have enough pride not to look at what random people are saying on the internet about you.
Yeah, that's true.
And go to your job and get booed and relish in it and make it, and when she relishes in the heat, it looks like it's hurting her and she's pretending she's getting the reaction she wants, but she's hurt by it. And it's like, it's a work, and you're like, don't take the booze personally. You're playing a villain. Just lean into it. And I think she is doing that, but there is sort of this feeling behind the mask that it's hurting her. And then it leads to a different kind of heat that I think makes people uncomfortable. And it'd just be good to steer away from that.
Yeah, it's it's the wrong kind of reactivity to the crowd. Like, I think being responsive to a crowd is good, but when you are reactive in a way that feels antagonistic, intentionally, right? Like, that's where it gets broken down for me.
Yeah. Standard deviation in the chat says, I feel bad for her in real life. It seems like she's struggling. BGF said Charlotte is a natural heel. CJ LaChapelle says, I hate her character, but not her personally in real life. And if you're a wrestler and you're a heel, you can't take it personally. I mean, that's your job to get booed. But Sadler Vision 3 says, now Nia plays into being a heel very well. Charlotte takes it personally, like she isn't playing a character. And so, anyway. Jason, back to you.
Yeah, but I think Nia's getting different heat than Charlotte. I think people are booing Nia, but I think there is a acknowledgement that Nia has gotten better and she's playing the role as a heel well. Charlotte's not getting that heel heat you want. She's getting go away heat. She's getting
Jason,
heat. We don't want to see you.
Jason, I think people genuinely don't like Nia Jax. In addition to booing her character, I still think that's there. And I don't think the majority of fans are like, but her work is better and she looks like she's fit and she's having good matches. I think people just genuinely don't like her. But I think with Charlotte, it's not that they genuinely don't like her. It's that they realize, and it's bad that humans are this way, but I think they see somebody who's vulnerable and they are rationalizing being mean because she's seen as this Nepo baby who's full of herself riding on yachts, and she doesn't get that it's a gimmick. And I think it's a different dynamic, but my clarification isn't so much that I feel differently than what you said about Charlotte. It's that I don't think the majority of Nia Jax's heat is, we respect her now and we boo her because that's a role we play as fans. I still think people don't like her, but they don't like her because she's confident and cocky and full of herself and sure-footed in who she is, and they don't like who she is. With Charlotte, they're booing her, but in a way that feels a little more cruel and personal. And she's not helping that with her body language and her reputation and how she handles it. That's my assessment of it. I don't know that I'm right, but I mean, a lot of people feel somewhere in that realm of what I'm saying is what's going on.
I see what you're saying. I can agree with that. It is a bit more cruel with Charlotte, but they don't help the situation by the vignettes they showed before she came back with her on a yacht and playing that rich lifestyle instead of showing her training in the ring, training with young NXT stars and coming across that way. They didn't do her any favors. I also feel like a lot of the crowd, because we're seeing so many young up-and-coming quality, young women talent out there, it's almost like they're tired of Charlotte. They keep harping on the 13 championships or whatever. It's like, we want to move past her. Or we don't want to move past her, but we want to move past this character. Like, it's time for her to evolve. If she keeps playing this character, I just don't think she's getting the right heat. I believe, and I might be in the minority here, I think she is salvageable and salvageable as a babyface. So because to me, there's a reason why Alexa said when I first came, you were the only person who gave me the time of day. Yeah. They wanted Alexa to say that, so it puts the message out to the audience that there is some good there, or else they wouldn't have said that. I'm not saying this is. I'm saying this is what I believe this is what they're trying to do. And
I think it's a worthwhile theory. My belief, and I very well could be wrong, and you could be right, Jason, is that was an opportunity to stress that Charlotte used to be a good person and she isn't anymore. And that solidifies her being a heel because Alexa gave her this lifeline to be human in a good way, and Charlotte rejected it and pretended she didn't remember it, and it was to get more heel heat on her. And I combine that with the belief that WWE is smart enough to know that the project of getting fans to cheer Charlotte right now is a lot of effort, which it may not work, and is trying to force her into a role that she's not good at. Now, if they think they need to do it for her own personal well-being, because she can't handle being booed, because she doesn't get the context of it, and not to take it personally, because she blurs the lines between her character and what she sees online and everything she's going through. If they're doing it just to support her and try to get her in a better role, I mean, they can put forth that effort, but I think that's the only reason they do it, if they think she just mentally needs to be cheered again. But I think it's an uphill battle. I mean, I just, even with Alexa doing it, I don't know that it would work. As Sean Plichta, who was just on with us, says it's way too early. She just isn't ready to be a face yet. WWE needs to do a better job of making her vulnerable and sympathetic in a different way. Yeah. And, the Standard Deviation said, The Rock has shades of that psychology to him as well. Quote, they're not rejecting my babyface character. I'm trying to walk the line. They just don't realize I'm 20 steps ahead, and I actually want them to boo me. JC Scooby says Charlotte having to change 180 degrees her character, lose who fancy clothes, among other things, and still don't think it would work, unfortunately. And that's my point, Jason, is I just think they're wise enough. I think their belief would be we can't successfully turn her babyface, which makes me think they're not going to try. But I could be wrong. Chris, you want to jump in on that?
Yeah. I mean, a perfect test case is my household. All right. So my wife and I started watching wrestling at the same time. I mean, I had my childhood love with it, but we came to it at the same time. I've done all this digging, right? Because that's who I am. So I've learned all about Charlotte's past accolades, what made her famous, why she's important. Mm-hmm. So I can look at this new version and say, oh, this doesn't seem like the person who used to be, but maybe they can come back. My wife, for whom this is the only Charlotte Flair she's ever seen, has repeatedly said, I hope she's never back on my TV. So I'm not sure that for the new audience that's come in this boom period, that Charlotte Flair is redeemable in their eyes, because the average fan like my wife isn't going to go back and watch those early stuff
that's a good
like
point.
I did,
Yeah, I think it's easy to lose sight of new fans arriving and other fans leaving, and the context in which everybody is judged, the lens through which they're viewed, is different based on your background searches and research, and also just how much you've watched. The sample size is different. I mean, when I first started watching wrestling, there were wrestlers who and it was harder at the time to get pre-internet, like the background on them and what they did before I knew them. It was mind blowing. Like all I knew was what I saw when I started watching. Sure. My opinion was based on that. And there's a lot of fans still experiencing that. And there's all kinds of stuff I could read about in the internet for shows that I really like. And I don't have time, or I don't want to. And so I just enjoy the show for what it is, even though that information is out there. I think for people who research it, or on Reddit threads, or listen to post-show podcasts and all that, most people watching these prestige TV shows on Netflix and Apple TV and stuff, they're not doing that research. I like Survivor, and Johnny Fairplay does a podcast. I've listened to it sometimes, but it's like it's not in my rotation to go that deep into it. It's just a fun not turn my brain up, but like kind of relax and not have to analyze things. I do that with wrestling. So a lot of people watch wrestling in the way that I watch TV shows. Which is, it's a pastime, and for the time it's on the air, I'm thinking about it, I enjoy it, I might talk about it afterwards, and then I'm done. I'm not researching it. Everybody's different. So I think it's a really good point, Chris, that there's a group of fans for whom Charlotte they don't have a history with her. They just see what's happening to her now. You got to tell a whole story organically to get people to look at her in a different way. But you can pull. I mean, Wade Barrett said, "Here's Jeff Cobb's past, Olympian, 15, all these years in Japan." I mean, you can do that, but it's hard to override how people viscerally feel about her when they see her now, and that's a challenge. Yeah, Jason.
All right. Well, I'll disagree, and the vast majority of the chat, I think she's redeemable, and I think if you write it correctly, and if you're part of the creative writing team or your book, I'd see it as a challenge, and I think it is a challenge, but I think if they do it right, they can get there. Yep. So anyway. With Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre, do you reckon, I'm just throwing it out there, I'm sensing we might see a double turn here. I don't know. I'm just sensing something here with McIntyre. Like he did win the fight fair and square at WrestleMania. And Damian Priest hasn't let it go. And they give McIntyre the opportunity to cut his promo in the ring in front of an audience. And he's getting a few cheers, and he's giving an opportunity to really talk it. Like, the way that he's talking and coming across in his promos, it's a way where it's inviting cheers from the audience. And then he has sort of that little confrontation with Solo, and I know he's looking at Jacob. I don't know. I'm just sensing something here because Damian Priest is not coming across likable in this feud. He lost it fair and square. And then he's saying, they're going to need dental records to recognize you. And McIntyre's talking about how you wanted to kill me. I don't know. I'm not ruling it out. I'm sensing something here. What do you think?
Well, my take was this is Saturday night's main event, and the Saturday night's main event brand in the mid-'80s was built around if we can eke out one more match between these two who have feuded at the house show circuit for the last 4-6 months or year, we're going to put it on NBC and reach that super casual fan who probably didn't attend a house show and hasn't seen it on pay-per-view. And this is a cage match, a match they feel is played out for the most part. They're not giving away something people would watch a PLE for, but they think they can give some national broadcast network exposure to Priest and Drew. They have good matches. That's my take on it. And then my take is Damian Priest comes across as a really strong babyface, and I don't think they should try to turn him again. And I don't think Drew has had the matches that he should have with babyfaces, including Cody Rhodes, before they turn him again. I mean, if it weren't for Rock, I think Drew would be feuding with Cody this summer. If it weren't for Cena winning the title. And I just, or maybe it'd be Cody Drew without a belt on line. I don't know. But I mean, that was something that was talked about. And so I just think they still want to get to that. So I get why you're saying that, Jason, but I almost think you're reading into things to connect dots that sound logical. But if you step back, turning Priest again when he so organically turned babyface and he comes across as just a good stand-up dude, and Drew is so great as a heel, and I think he can steer people away from cheering him. I mean, the line of "I was afraid you're going to wear my skin at your birthday party." Like, I mean, he's great. He's putting effort. I don't know if he's doing it alone or with a writer, but his promos are must listen. And I liked it was just right to the point this week too. He didn't just pace in the ring for 10 minutes and waste time. But I just think he's too good of a heel, and I don't think they're going to rush turning him face. What do you think, Chris?
I don't want Damian to turn. What I actually really enjoy is the interesting kind of iconography that you're getting with this babyface Priest. If you notice, it's angel wings that morph into bat demon wings. Little touches like that, I think, make for an interesting kind of babyface, right? The anti-hero, the Batman figure that is kind of needed right now. I mean, that's not really even CM Punk, right? But Priest has that feel. So I don't think it's time to have him turn. I think they see where they can go with him in the babyface role and run that in its course.
Jason, if you are right, rub it in.
Yeah, please.
No.
You're throwing some things out there.
I'm not. Listen, a lot of times I'll talk about things that I think the direction that they might be going in, but I'm not saying I want to go in that direction. This is more about the way they frame Drew McIntyre. They just, the way he comes across and the way that he delivers his words and the inflection, they're all used to get pops from the crowd. It's very interesting because he has that sense of humor. He has that quick wit. And to have him come out there and address the audience, and I didn't hear him get boos. But you have Priest, the one that's doing the backstage one. And I agree. I'm a fan of Damian Priest. He is a strong babyface, but I feel like he's lost a bit since not being paired with Rhea Ripley. I think they were very strategic that once they turned Damian Priest full on babyface, they made sure that Rhea was associated with him. So they had that vibe of the cooler big brother with the white hot babyface and Rhea Ripley. But since then, I've always been worried about Priest that he might lose a bit of momentum. Now, he's just one of those people you have to be very careful with how you book him because of his size. He still has to win. You know what I mean? So to me, it's more about how they're framing Drew McIntyre. It's just I'm intrigued how they do it because I seem to present him more of a babyface in my way of looking at it when he cuts his promos and just the way they present him. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I might be connecting dots that are not there, but it's just what I'm observing.
Yeah. I think Priest is at the water level he should be at. And I think he peaked and there was a little drop off and it was to be expected. And he's not going to be a centerpiece top tier pay-per-view main event guy. But I'm looking forward to what he does after Saturday night's main event, because I think that will be the end of this one way or the other. I don't think it's a failure that he's not as hot as he was in Judgment Day playing off of Rhea. There's going to be peaks and valleys. And Priest is, 40-ish, and he's not the future. He's a really good utility fifth babyface, fifth from the top type babyface right now, who can give you some good matches. And I'm okay with him in the role that he's in. I don't think it's something they have to fix. Chris.
What I do think Drew McIntyre reminds me of is like Deadpool on his worst day, right? And that's where that wit, I think people really appreciate, that smartness, right?
Yeah.
And the way he can cut. And I think it's really hard not to celebrate somebody who's really good like that on a microphone. And I think, Jason, to your point, I can see where that struggle is of, man, you want to laugh, you want to recognize how good this guy is, but wait, he is the bad guy. He's just that good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, Jason, anything else before we?
I'll leave it at that. All good, guys. Thank you.
Yeah,
Hey,
good.
Good to talk.
Jason making us think. We'll keep an eye out for that stuff. All right, Rivers, you are up. Rivers, welcome. What's on your mind tonight?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Hey.
Good.
We almost saw the funniest LA Knight botch of them all, apart from when he swallowed his own gum when he slipped on the announce table. But he did recover, so congratulations to him.
Yeah, I was thinking as I was watching his match, I don't think, and every once in a while I'm looking at my screen to type my report, so I might have missed something, but I don't think there was a botch spot or a mistimed spot or a slip on the ropes or anything like that. But I'm like, does almost falling over because you stand on the like the little shield floppy part of the table, does almost falling and maybe getting seriously injured? I mean, we chuckle, but he did recover. Does that count? I think it kind of does. I mean, it has to. Yeah, it has to. Yeah.
It's one a night. It's not one a match.
There we go. Yeah. It's a little klutzy, but he was the workhorse out there ttonight, and he's got the fans by his side. He's another guy who's just in a good spot. Don't lament. He's not the next Stone Cold, or he's not Cody Rhodes. Just he's earning a good living, being out there in longer matches. And I think a lot of people who saw his pre-WWE work thought he'd be given in WWE. And I think that's a sign of confidence in him, even if he, is a little klutzy sometimes.
I find it endearing. I mean, watching Brett or someone like that is good, but watching LA Knight, you're like, yeah, I would also slip if I got on that table. So
yeah, that's true.
You're not asking people to pay $300 to watch you up close perform on a stage either, but
it adds to how dangerous it is. It's like he could have easily hurt himself doing that. So his opponent, this is the first time I've seen him. I've heard good things. I was not impressed.
Yeah.
In fact, I thought he was bad. Honestly, I thought we already have better versions of him. Kind of in the Federation and seemingly in WWE, and seemingly his thing is strength, which he was surprisingly strong. It was impressive what he was doing, but he is 5'9", 5'10", so in my mind he's never going to be the strong guy in a feud,
right?
Because it's just a mismatch there. If that's your thing, then you don't look like that should be your thing, so it's kind of useless in my mind.
I'm gonna give him a little more time, but yeah, I don't think. I mean, I think there's some adjustments need to be made, or it's not going to be a long push for him.
Did you also see? I don't know if you mentioned it, but Nia got busted open pretty badly.
Yeah.
I don't know whose fault that was, or if it's just one of those things, but that could have been really bad. And that drop kick, I guess, into the chair did seem really heavy, so I don't know if anyone would get in trouble for that, but I mean, hopefully she's okay, because that could have been devastating.
I think Nia and Tiffany are just they have permission from each other and management to go and have a hard-hitting match, so they both earn their stripes. I mean, getting cut and bleeding isn't that big of a deal. It's superficial, it clots, and you're fine. I don't know enough. I mean, Tiffany went through, she was just destroyed at WrestleMania too. I mean, it's just but I didn't take it. I just took it as, it's a spot that can cut you open, but I'd have to replay it to kind of see exactly where where that came, what did you pick up anything, Chris, in terms of
I
blame
thought it
or
was
cause
when she drop kicked the chair into her
Right.
face.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Something
there
caught her.
wasn't any time to blade, so it must have been probably like the joint of the actual where the
Yeah.
hinge is, because that's
Yeah.
the thing that sticks out.
I mean, my hunch is no one's going to think it's a big deal, but I could be wrong. I'm, just doing a show right after the show. I haven't talked to anybody, but sometimes people are going to get cut. And, I don't like swinging chairs into people's heads as a spot. I'm not a fan with what we know about concussions and a whole generation of wrestlers who did way too much of that stuff and have paid a price in so many ways, immeasurable from it. But, getting a chair drop kicked into your head, if that's a spot, it's hard to control it if you're kind of blind to the impact. And, they're not going to do that a lot. It's not 10 chair shots to the head to prove you're hardcore in front of a bunch of bloodthirsty, fans. I mean, it was a spot that went a little awry, I think.
Yeah.
That, I guess, is it a good show. Other than that, I just want to say one thing I was at Backlash. And I just have one comment about the crowd there.
Yeah.
So the last time I was at a WWE show was in California when Jay won the IC belt. And I called in and I was shocked how willing the crowd were to go with the show. It was a huge change since I used to go to live events. Lots of family there, and they were just cheering the good guys, booing the bad guys into the show. Different crowd, different location, different atmosphere. But at Backlash, it was a marked difference. There was so many people there, at least around me, that were cheering ironically, that were just begging people to get tables in whatever match, were just telling people to jump off the top rope or like just spam finishes. And it was just two completely different crowds in the space of a year. So I don't know if that means anything because it is two different locations, but it was interesting.
Rivers, we talked about it. It was was a turning point for me in my perception of WWE. I'll repeat it. I know I repeat this, but Paul Levesque inherited a boom period that was due to the booking of the Bloodline, the Sami Zayn story, the Sami Zayn Roman Reigns Montreal story, the Cody Rhodes journey, clear-cut babyface heel dynamics. That is what I think is responsible. Not more than 50%, but a higher percent than anything else that adds up to 100% for the boom period. And he's messing with it needlessly. I think there's something about him where he's like, well, I have to put my stamp on things, or he's too on the internet and too on social media and thinks that's the whole world, like Tony Khan. And he's pulled into this vortex of everybody knows. So we have to like trick him. And then, and he's going to, so I could go on and on about that, but I think they're in a danger zone where they're going to lose the traction that they had of fans just buying into the narrative of the protagonist, antagonist, home team, away team dynamic that was working. And we need shades of gray because we want to be seen as something other than black and white. And it's like, no, you this boom period is because people want heroes to cheer and villains that they don't like who they want to see lose, and stick with that. It's a fresh formula because you put new people in it. That's what makes it fresh. You don't freshen it up by ruining it. But by taking away that dynamic. And there's exceptions, but they should be infrequent and for a purpose. And I think we're seeing some of that. And yeah, I mean, I could go on. I mean, I think what you're pointing out, Rivers, though, in that backlash crowd reaction is something that also came after all the Europe crowds drew a lot of attention to themselves. Right. So I think fans are like, hey, we can be part of the story. How can we do that? It could be a lot of things. It's warning signs. It's not a death knell for anything. But if I'm Levesque, I look at that and I go, let's stop empowering fans to be calling spots from the crowd or validating how good a match is. Let's make sure that we don't see that as a success story. It is if I know it sounds crazy to people, and some people just turn off the podcast when I say this, but This Is Awesome chant is not a compliment to a wrestler. Now, the wrestlers think it is a lot of the time, but there's veterans who are not worried about what Twitter says about them, who are steering the ship in a way that draws money, who understand it's not a bad thing, but it's not the best thing. The best thing is Jey Uso against Gunther and the crowd reactions for him when Jey is making a comeback pre-WrestleMania, their other match that Gunther beat him at, in Sami Zayn and Montreal. That's peak experience for fans, and that's what you should be striving for. You don't want fans thinking about, is this a good match or bad match? You want them lost in the story, wanting to see a certain finish and rooting for it. And so WWE, like, I would stop saying 5 stars on the air. I would stop saying banger, for that matter. I mean, there's a sort of a place for that, but get the tables and, I mean, fight for all that stuff. I think it's a second tier wrestling experience, and I think it's a crowd reaction for a secondary company that's striving to have a niche that's way below the top company in the industry. And WWE is starting to get the fan reaction that the secondary challenger brand go for, because it's the alternative and they're super serving a smaller audience. But the biggest audience for WWE are the ones who are lost in the story and passionately want to see an outcome in a match, and they react like we see fans do at sports arenas for NHL and NBA playoffs and NFL games. Like, that's the reaction you're looking for. You don't want a bunch of fans chanting "This is awesome" at a Viking Packer game. That'd be ridiculous. You can say that was a great game afterwards, but when it's happening, you're totally immersed in, I want to see your team win. And so if you're a wrestler, you're getting a "This is awesome" chant. I mean, it's not the worst thing. It's better than what Jeff Cobb got tonight, but it's much better to have them lost in the story. Okay.
Yeah.
I think one thing they could do at least would be to have the faces be the ones that get the tables out. Because at the moment, like, we had Nia was the one that cleared the announce table.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, why is she doing that? Because we know these people, for some reason, I'll never understand it, want to see someone put through a table. So just have the faces do it, and maybe even have the heels put the tables back away. Give the heels the role of not giving the fans what they want.
We see heels do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have images in my head of hazy examples. If I remember, I could put
Roman did it recently.
Roman did it recently. Drew did it recently.
Yeah. You pull a chair out. You're like, oh, no, I'm not going to. Yeah, Drew is, I think, the most recent example. By the way, so I don't forget to say this, the one time I'd like to see every wrestler break character on live television, PLEs, TV, is if there's the what chant going on. I'd like to see the wrestler just break character and look away from the hard cam and just go, "You're not helping. Nobody in the back is happy that you're doing this. No, you're not helping anyone at home enjoy this show. Everyone, please stop." And then just go right back into character. I think it'd be worth breaking character to try to stop this thing, because it is not, like, I don't know if you have to go quite that far, but if like 3 wrestlers or 4 wrestlers in a row did that, just basically shame the fans because I think what would happen, because WWE has momentum, although they're losing a little bit in certain ways with like you're pointing out Rivers at Backlash, but fans want the show to succeed. And I think what would happen is people started chanting what, but you had a few wrestlers break character, put some more thought into it than I have in terms of how to do it. But I think you'd have fans kind of giving a mean look to fans doing it and nudging them, going, "No, we don't do that anymore." Like, I think you can steer fans away from this kind of thing, but the what chants especially are bad. Chris?
Well, the point that I'll make to this is, and I said this a couple weeks ago, deconstruction only works as a thing if you have something that you're reconstructing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like that's what Triple H is trying to do. He's making professional wrestling his own thing, this brand new thing. Well, that's you've got to rebuild the illusion for us to make it work, the peak fan experience, right? Otherwise, we're left with these tattered scraps of people chanting what at inane moments just to ensure that we are remembered.
Yeah, to make them part of the show. Yeah, to make them part of the show.
Yeah.
Good. Rivers, anything else you want to bring up?
I'm a little bit annoyed at Saturday night's main event because I was pleased with Backlash, but I also feel that this is a much better card, and some of those matches would have been on Backlash if it wasn't for it. But I was just there to see John one last time, so I don't really mind, but a little shortchanged. No, that's it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Rivers. Appreciate it. Good call.
To you.
By the way, one other thing that I've been trying to stamp out in pro wrestling, Standard Deviation said, "I noticed that wrestling shows tend to tighten up on dumb moments a few weeks or months after Wade shames them for it week after week. One thing that I've been shaming for a while, but more so lately, is wrestlers standing at ringside waiting to catch someone who's flying at them. And Aleister Black tonight, you notice on the Carmelo Hayes dive, he didn't stand there and wait to catch Hayes. Instead, Miz was standing to his left. And he did this thing where he's like, I got to keep an eye on Miz. There's Hayes, but I got to keep an eye on Miz. And he was preoccupied with 2 things, so he couldn't keep his eye on things. And so when he looked at Miz, he turned back, and then it was too late to move, and Hayes hit him. There are creative things. There's someone who, I think on Raw on Monday, who we talked about on the post show, where they got pulled into the path by someone else. So That's my point. It's fixable. It's a bad habit. And it's not, this is not super easily fixed because everybody wants to get their dives in, and it can start to feel real contrived if people aren't standing there catching them in a way, because now how do you construct a situation where someone would stand there and get hit? But they're really in, I think Fatu and JC Mateo, they like when they took, or who was it? Or no, Solo at ringside, whatever it was. They took the dive, and they kind of caught him, but it kind of looked at the last second. And so I don't know. I mean, hopefully that's something that also it's just sometimes Todd Martin talked about that on the fix. Like we got an email on, like, if you pretended you had never watched wrestling before and you watched a wrestling show, there's so much nonsense, but no one ever just steps back and says, let's have a fresh set of eyes look at this and tell us what just seems needlessly fake, needlessly anti-immersive experience. Let's clean it up. Sometimes maybe that means we don't do as many dives. Well, I'll applaud that. Let's do fewer dives. Like, not everybody has to get their dive in, Montez, Seth, everybody. Just like settle down and tell the story in the ring and make the dives like more special instead of this. So anyway.
Well, think about it. If we paid for a $20 movie ticket for a $300 million blockbuster, and they left the wires in because, well, we all know it's fake anyway, none of us would be happy, right? And so I think, again, to go back to it, it feels a bit like you're being taken advantage of as the consumer base when they know that you will be satisfied with mediocrity. And
it's just the way it is.
Permission to, so I'm with you.
And it takes some timing, but you know, if someone is setting up a dive, you can be turned the wrong way. And then as soon as you start turning around, that's when the wrestler launches off the top rope or through the ropes, and you don't have, and then at that point, or you can be dazed. You're not even looking, but don't look at the opponent and hold your hands up until that last second when you're like, oh crap, someone's coming at me. And then the hands are up because you're trying to control a situation to blunt the impact. So, you know, but I think there's a way to make that work better. But this is not a new thing. I mean, I've got a photo on my wall of Sabu catching Sean Waltman diving off the top rope at him, and Sabu's arms are out waiting to catch him. But it's done so much now. It's just like, it's so, why not clean it up a little? Because there are ways to do it. Or you can do what Samoa Joe does more often, just step out of the way.
Just walk away. The fact that somebody does that and nobody else does is a travesty.
I know.
Like, even if they have to pay him royalties, just somebody else do it. Like, it's perfect. My least favorite is the one where they jump into a crossbody, right? And Nia Jax did that tonight, where it's one thing to help with the landing, but to jump in it to increase it, that's where it looks too fake to me.
I mean, there's 1,000 moves you can choose from. There's no reason you have to choose any of the 100 fakest ones to do. You can fill 8 or 12 or 15 or 18 or 25 minutes with a whole array of moves that don't look super fake. So just, you know, like, they don't do leapfrog crisscross that much anymore. Because I know wrestlers, and this 15 years ago, actually probably more than that, in WWE, I was talking to wrestlers and like, we don't do that stuff anymore. That's just old school nonsense. And it was laughed at when, you know, wrestlers would do it. And so there are it's one of many examples where wrestlers just go, time's up on that. It doesn't look good anymore. And I think it's good to refresh your thoughts on that. But as far as Jeff Cobb goes, Derek Hubbard said, Cobb will get the Japan-centric praise from the hardcore fans. They will blame WWE for shortcomings. Listen to the larger audience. Their reaction is much more revealing than the loud minority. Just going off of Rivers' comment about him too. All right, Chris, go ahead.
Well, it just seemed like he was ill prepared for what he was walking into tonight. Had the face of somebody who maybe had a little bit of freeze. I have no clue. But next week, let's see what he's like. Muted again.
I don't like doing it twice. Give me a second before anyone sees that I'm doing that.
All right.
I'm not actually bad at you. I'm just saying, all the co-hosts, if I start talking, I'm muted. Like, give me a second to notice, because I usually notice, because there's actually this is inside baseball. There's a big thing on the screen when I talk and I'm muted, and it flashes, you're muted. I know I don't need anyone to tell me as long as I'm looking at the screen. But it takes me a second to find the unmute button.
And check this out. You
It's
will
just,
never have me tell you you need to begin. Hold me to it. Hold me to it.
well, but then you know what's going to happen is like in 3 months I'll be talking for like 2 minutes, and you're just going to be
And I'll
sitting there
just be
going,
like,
"I'm
you
not going to
told me
tell Wade.
that
I'm going
one
to tell Wade."
time,
Yep.
Wade.
Yep.
I'm a man of my word. Yeah.
I today especially I have tree pollen allergies all week. Like
Oh, dude,
I'm like sniffing,
it
I'm
sucks.
muting, I you know
You've done a good job with it. You
yeah,
really
yeah,
have.
but like so I'm muted more often today than normal. So
Yeah.
but I'll come back. Anyway, so Jason D said Joe needs a t-shirt with a slogan, just walk away.
That'd be cool.
Good comment there. I don't know if that's where I was going. Rivers adds in the chat, speaking of WWE lifting the curtain, I'd ask, why give people transparency when you can give them magic? Why give them prose when you could give them poetry? Because Paul Levesque wants a reputation for being the most open, generous with all the inside information booker ever, because he just wants people to praise him for not being old school and trying to fool them. And that's my theory, is he's out to be Mr. Popular with the hardcore fans. And it could be out of insecurity, because he knows that can radiate in social media and then lead to him being seen as popular. So if The Rock ever did a power play with Brian Gewirtz to take over the book, or some business faltered and big wigs at TKO are like, I don't know. But if the hardcore fans love him and that's out there, maybe he thinks it's a way for job security. But it could also just be he just wants to be loved. And instead of just being okay putting out a great product, he wants the hardcore fans to love him for pulling the curtain back like those old school liar promoters who were treating us like Marks did.
Right.
I just disagree with it. I think people want magicians to not reveal all the tricks.
Well, okay. Well, here's the thing with like good art, right? Nobody advances art because they want to be known for advancing art. They advance art by organically producing art that transgresses the boundaries authentically. And that's not what he's doing.
Yeah. Yep. All right. I thought I was going to say something else, but I don't recall. I'm going to wrap up pretty quick here, but we got Thunder Skydancer who called in late, so I'll bring him onto the show. Thunder, welcome. I'm going to make it kind of quick with you because I do want to run in a couple of minutes here.
Well, I do agree with a little bit of what everything y'all were talking about with the Triple H and stuff like that. But I was wondering, okay, Solo Sikoa, do you think he has cooled off too much to be, how do you say it, usable? Because I mean, he started out kind of on fire. I mean, when he came in, he was on fire. Now he's like he went to the bloodline thing, and then all of a sudden now he is just kind of there. I'm just wondering what your thoughts on him. And
so yeah,
do you think he has projection?
Yeah, let me pause you. It was a great point, because I think when he was standing there in the background and everyone's just glued to his body language, his reactions to what was going on, it was less is more. Like, ooh, this guy's mysterious. But then when he started talking, the charisma changed to something of sort of upper mid card. But he was part of this transformational top tier group. And obviously the way he's done jobs and been booked, management realizes that he's not a WrestleMania main eventer. It's just not. That's not who he is. He doesn't have the charisma or the ring skill. He doesn't have output in matches, and that matters. The match quality, the way he tells a story, engages a crowd. He just doesn't have it. He's not quite at that level. I wouldn't cut him. I think he's valuable, but sort of LA Knight level heel. And he can be a gatekeeper for Jacob Fatu moving up the card. So I'm okay with that. But I don't think what they did tonight, where he's out there with a microphone, they should do every week. But I don't think it was, terrible that he got a considerable amount of time to talk on the microphone. But while he was talking, Thunder, I had the same thoughts you did. I don't know. Are we past the point where he can stand in the ring and hold court that long? I think the fact that he's playing off of Jacob Fatu and just had this new intriguing signing of Jeff Cobb, or addition of Jeff Cobb, that buoyed his character enough to justify this TV time. But most weeks, no. Chris.
Yeah, I think he found the sort of sassy, comical voice a little too late, because by the time he's found it now, it's clear that Jacob Fatu is who they wanted him to be, right? And so it feels like he's having to catch up with himself in a way, and he's lost it. Yeah.
Yeah. Comment in the chat. Solo needs to win. He's lost. This is from Goodfella 1422. He lost like 18 to 20 matches in a row. Always getting beat up. I think tone can change with some wins. I enjoy him on the mic, but upper mid card. Jason D from Australia chimes in. Solo's job is to play imposter tribal chief and to help maintain Roman's cheers while Roman was away, and he did that. Now people want Jacob to beat him up. He's doing his job. Yeah. Yep. I think that's fair. All right. Thunder, back to you.
All right. Well, really quickly, you're talking about the last caller. You're talking about the table spots and him not playing the tables. That's one thing. I don't know if the US feed caught it, but I was using a VPN, and Solo did go for a table once and teased it and said, "No, I'm not going for a table," and come back in, and the crowd booed. So it was actually a good thing he did. But that's one of the things I really liked about it. The other thing, Jeff Cobb, do you think they need to do like kind of, I don't know, a package of saying, "Hey, this is who this guy is." That way they know who they're getting in the ring before they bring him out.
I don't know if a video package is going to shine up what he did in the ring tonight. I mean, I think he's got to be better in the ring before they're going to dedicate the production team to try to shine him up with a video package. I mean, they can put a video package together going, well, this is why his matches seem boring and slow, and why he seems like a small guy doing power moves when there's people who are bigger, more powerful everywhere around him, but he's not in Japan anymore. But you're supposed to think he's awesome because he was in Japan. How do you tell that? How do you camouflage what we saw tonight? I don't think cut him. I'm just saying it wasn't a good first impression. Yeah. But I get what you're saying, Thunder, in terms of like define him. I'd say that for anybody as sort of a default position, but that's not gonna make a difference if he has another match like this. Mm-hmm. And I don't know style wise, Chris, what they can do to fix it, other than I don't know. I mean, I think I don't want to say like the cliche, there's nowhere to go but up, because this might be what he does. His style might be better in a more sports-like environment, in a presentation with a little more of a deliberate pace, and this might be a bad fit. Or he might look at the match and people might sit down with him and go, okay, here's some things we need to change. Right. So yeah. Chris?
I just I can't help but feel almost bad for the guy, because you've got to think this is not how he wanted his real first night on WWE programming to go. Yeah. Never in a million years would he have wanted anybody to be talking about him like this, and it sucks. But at the same time, like you say, like, well, I mean, it's almost sink or swim. And hopefully they give him the chance to swim.
Yeah. Well, here's a couple comments. Jason D. Cobb's street attire didn't help the visual. Yep.
True.
Goodfella 1422 says, I know it's touched on, but his fashion tonight was not good. And Sadler says, I agree. The street clothes made him look like a random fan from the crowd. It was weird they made him wrestle like that in an impromptu match. No, I just think people are used to Bronson Reed and think that guy could go, and this is a to a WWE uninitiated viewer in the match we saw tonight, he's just a poor man's Bronson Reed. Like that's I think what the average fan's thinking. Now, is he more than that, or is he different than that? Yes, but he didn't show it tonight.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. That's all I have tonight.
All right.
Thank you guys.
Good talk.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Thunder. Have a good weekend. Standard Deviation said, I think Cobb being an Olympic quality athlete brings an authenticity to the solo side of the faction that can be useful in promo segments, which is the bread and butter for that group. Yeah. And I mean, it whoever produced the match, or maybe LA Knight was the wrong type of opponent. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but Mateo, I don't think made a great first impression. So, but it wasn't awful. It just wasn't great.
No, he had a match with Jonah, I guess, before he became Bronson Reed. Talking about comparing styles, you can see what he can do. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just it's wild that's what you got tonight.
Chris, as we get close to signing off here, anything that you want to bring up from the show that we haven't? We had the Shinsuke Nakamura vignette, by the way. It's glad to see him jump in with that. I think it was, we call promoting as I guess a triple threat Money in the Bank qualifier, and talking about Aleister Black in particular. I thought
they did something interesting with that. I like the vignettes. I don't dislike them. I wish they could do something more with Shinsuke that felt consequential, but maybe this is just what his role is now.
I think should they have him cut a promo where he is unsure of the language he's using and the inflection doesn't match the words or his intent, or is it better to produce these things? And the thing is if Aleister Black and who am I forgetting? Who also just came back? Who's doing the
Rusev?
Rusev, thank you. Yeah, Rusev and Black, and now it's what Nakamura's doing feels less original in that sense. Io Sky too. People where it's in Nakamura and Io Sky, it's more a language thing because it can put captions on the screen. But with Nakamura, I think it adds to his character, the kind of mysterious colors and all that, and his word, his inflection is believable. So yeah, I like him. Yeah.
It allows them probably to feel more comfortable, and
for sure,
going to give everybody else a better performance.
Yeah. How about Chelsea Green tonight? She's a blast.
So Chelsea Green, I don't know. I'm mixed on. Well, one, you can't keep the presidential Tron presentation without being the U.S. champion, right? Which goes to some of our criticisms about Seth's role, right? When your package stays the same, but the story doesn't match it, that's strange. I thought the match was just fine. It wasn't anything to be super excited about. I love Mi Chen. I would need her to get her break, but maybe I'm just one in a million, unfortunately. Yeah. What did you think of that one?
I'm enjoying Chelsea with her like political things. She had a line that if she wins Money in the Bank this year, she'll implement, quote, a beautiful social economic policy with trickle-down effects that will lower interest rates for my secret Hervis.
Okay, yeah, and she had the tariff line, which I did appreciate that.
I'm putting tariffs on mediocrity, and you two are first. So she's playing into politics, the political dialogue out there, kind of trolling some of it. Yeah,
I do like that. I heard not Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona talking about wanting to be back in WWE, and I had visions of them as the power couple, both U.S. champions, both presidential. Like, you could make some really interesting stories that way. Do you think it'll be long before she gets it back, or do you think it goes to someone else next?
I think she'll get it back.
Yeah,
I think she's good with it. Yeah. All right. Well, let's just let people know once again that you can support us with a VIP membership, and you can get a 7-day free trial. Catch up on our Backlash Roundtable that was exclusive for VIP members that I hosted this past weekend, and so much more. We just put up a 4-part series from 18 years ago, the Bruce Mitchell audio show, a 4-part series on the Four Horsemen DVD that came out. They're in Greensboro, North Carolina tonight, and that's where Bruce Mitchell, longtime Pro Wrestling Torch columnist, sat front row for that whole Four Horsemen era, and that is available on our PWTorch podcast vault feed. 4 hours of some of the greatest stories, greatest insight on the Four Horsemen, what stories they told on the DVD that were true, what shades were not true, what was completely missing, what were the politics behind what wasn't included. Tons of context and fun stories. I could go on and on. There's so much great content on the PWTorch VIP feed, and you can get a 7-day free trial. Just search PWTorch VIP on Patreon or in Spotify. That's PWTorch VIP, and use that search term in Patreon or Spotify and activate a 7-day free trial. You can also search PWTorch in your Apple Podcast app and subscribe to the charcoal-colored PWTorch VIP logo and get a free trial through your Apple account to unlock all the VIP shows. Or you can get a full VIP membership, and that includes access to our full library of archives, everything on demand, the weekly PDF Pro Wrestling Torch newsletter, our written roundtable reviews, customizable RSS feeds that are compatible with Apple Podcasts and many other podcast apps. I'm on Android. pwtorch.com/govip. pwtorch.com/govip. You're missing out on a lot. I know there's a lot of free podcasts out there, and money can be tight, and you're spread thin on all these memberships and all that. But if you like what we do here, you like our tone, consider how you spend your time when you have time to listen to podcasts. And if you're getting the type of material from other hosts and other shows that you want. And if you are, great. But if you like what we do and you like the tone we set, are you listening to shows that are leaving you feeling a little empty, or maybe you wasted your time? I don't think you'll find that with the top tier VIP exclusive content that we put out. The Fix with Todd Martin that I host with Todd, Everything with Rich and Wade that I host with Rich Fan, our post pay-per-view roundtables, the Wade Keller hotlines. Those are the shows that I'm part of, in addition to the free shows. And then there's so many other great shows that are VIP exclusive. Full details at pwtorch.com/govip. We're business to do this. We need your support as a VIP member. We're not asking for charity. We give you a lot in return. But if you do believe in what we do and the tone we take and the lack of bombast, and we're not rooting for one team over the other, I think there's differences between our journalistic approach and our analytical approach and our kind of grown-up adult approach and a lot of what's out there. Otherwise, I ask you to support us. pwtorch.com/govip. Chris, I think it was Chris Matthews used to say, a political analyst, he would say politicians need to ask at the end of political speeches for votes. Like, don't give a speech and get people inspired without at the end going, if you like what you've heard, please vote for me. Like, you have to give people a call to action. And that's what I'm doing here. If you like what we do here on this show and you're consuming us on YouTube or the podcast feed for free, and you're like, I like these guys. I don't always agree with everything, and some things I like better. But if you think our approach is something that you're kind of proud of to have access to as a wrestling fan, I ask for your vote of support through supporting our business with the VIP membership. And like I said, you unlock a lot of good benefits.
Can I ring you? Can I follow up on that real quick?
Yeah, sure.
So I don't know, folks who may or may not know, like I do this with you, and you've allowed me to be in your space. I don't make any money when I do this. So when I say, hey, y'all go VIP, it's not because it goes to me. It's because it goes to support what you've gone to build and what you've done over the past, 4 decades, you said? So
getting there.
So folks, this is to pay for the incredible content you get, and it comes from me, and it's non-biased. So
I was just a teenage kid who loved wrestling, but I also loved journalism, and I loved entrepreneurship, and I just combined them all into this business. I didn't know where it would lead.
That's cool.
And then here I am, and I made friends, and it's been a career. But it is. I mean, it's my sole income. It has been my whole life. Like, this is what pays for, it's my sustenance and my retirement and my kids' college, fund, all that. So I mean, you're very much supporting a small business. So you're clicking around and you're supporting billionaires and businesses that you might not agree with. That's right. This is just a family business. I mean, my late grandma used to help on mail day. My son helps with stuff. My mom still works in the subscription department, opening envelopes from the paper copy people. It's just like my partner does all the production work. It is podcast production. It's a family business. So
that's awesome.
So support us. Anyway, I didn't mean to go into a long pitch. Chris, thank you so much. Yep. Good talking with you. And everybody, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next time.
See y'all.